Good morning, good day, and good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all races, ages, genders, sexual orientations, religions, etc. So yes, you the viewer, and myself, have seen the movie Sinners. You know, the movie about twin criminals who opened a juke joint in Mississippi during the 1930s, only to be stalked by vampires along with a group of people who they were previously acquainted with. I totally didn't need to remind you about a movie we both seen. Seeing that movie for the umpteenth time recently made me think about the genre of music being played in that movie. Delta blues. Of all the blues artists that come to mind when thinking of Sinners, including its setting in Jim Crow America, the one that comes to mind was one who was considered to be the first ever rock star. I'm talking, of course, about Robert Johnson. Being an influential black male in America during the 1930s is quite rare, almost unheard of. With that in mind, one may ask, who is Robert Johnson? And what made him so special? Well, much of Johnson's early life is sparse, and only known from those who knew him, which was very few. Here's what is known. Robert Leroy Johnson was born around the 8th of May, 1911 in Hazelhurst, Mississippi to mother Julia Majors and father Noah Johnson. He was the firstborn of the two parents, with Julia having 10 children with her previous husband, Charles Dodds. Charles was an unfortunate victim of racial hate in Mississippi as he was forced to leave Mississippi for Memphis, Tennessee by a lynch mob, leaving Julia, though they were still married. He would then change his last name to Spencer. Following Charles's forced departure, Julia would meet Noah and they would produce Robert. He would not know of his father's identity until years later. While still young, Julia would take Robert and move around frequently. They would eventually leave the Delta for Memphis for Julia to reconnect with Charles. Robert would spend the next few years growing up in Memphis and attend the Carnes Avenue Colored School, receiving lessons in arithmetic, reading, language, music, geography, and physical exercise. The music lessons he received is where he discovered his love for blues. One of his older brothers would even help him learn how to play the guitar. Years later, Robert and his mother would briefly settle on a plantation in Crittenden County, Arkansas, with her new husband, Will Dusty Willis. He would take on various last names throughout his youth. They would later move back to Mississippi, this time in the Delta in a town called Commerce. Robert's love for music would continue as a school friend of Robert by the name of Willie Coffey would note later in his life that Johnson was able to play the jaw harp. Between going to school and practicing playing the guitar, Robert was working in farm fields. In 1929, when Johnson was 18 years old, his mother would reveal who his biological father was. Sometime before this, Johnson would meet a girl named Virginia Travis, who was between the ages of 14 and 16 at the time. The two would marry, and Roberts would take the surname Johnson, which he used on their marriage certificate. It is reported that the two lied about their ages for this to happen. They would also attempt to start a family together. At this point, Johnson made a promise to Travis to give up playing the guitar, and they moved to a plantation so that he could be a legitimate farmhand. When Travis left Johnson to give birth to their child at her grandmother's home, Johnson took advantage of the opportunity to go back to playing the guitar again. He would travel to Travis to see his child. Unfortunately, in 1930, Johnson would get to the location too late and learned that Travis and their unborn child would die during childbirth. She was already buried with her child. After some time, Johnson would focus more on his music. In 1930, he would meet Edward James Son House Jr. in Robinsonville, Mississippi, where his music partner, Willie Brown, lived. Johnson looked up to House as someone he wanted to be similar to. He He would play songs for House at juke joints. He was not liked as much at the juke joints compared to House and Brown. He would even be ridiculed by the crowd for his attempts at playing the guitar. The two experienced players even told Johnson not to mess with the guitars as they believed he would break the strings. After some time, Johnson would have enough of the chastising of the crowd and his idols. He would eventually leave Robinsonville for Martinsville, an area not too far from where he was born. In Robinsonville, he would learn how to become a better guitar player to match the likes of House from Isaiah Ike Zimmerman. While in Martinsville, in May 1931, Johnson would marry Coletta Craft, who was 10 years older than him. After their marriage, the two would move to Clarksdale, Mississippi in 1932. Johnson would leave Craft in his pursuit of being an itinerant musician. Following her death in 1933, he would swear off marriage. Beginning in 1932, Johnson would move between Memphis, Tennessee and Helena, Arkansas, as well as areas in the Mississippi Delta while working to better his music skills. He would return after an 18-month hiatus to areas in which he played in front of, to the surprise and gratitude of the audience. One such area was Banks, Mississippi, where House and Brown were in attendance, to their bewilderment. House, who once disapproved of Johnson's guitar playing, was amazed at his improvement since he last seen him. He improved so much that he was said to have done things that even his superiors couldn't do. Johnson would venture beyond the Mississippi Delta into areas where blues music was popular, such as Chicago, Detroit, New York, and St. Louis. During these travels, he was accompanied by a fellow blues player, Johnny Shines. With the success Johnson was having, he wanted to record his music. He would do so in Jackson, Mississippi, when he met H.C. Spear. In November 1936, Spear would later get Johnson connected to Don Law to record his songs in San Antonio, Texas. Johnson would record 16 songs with an alternate version of most of them. Of the songs recorded were some of his most famous songs, such as I Believe I'll Dust My Broom, Crossroads Blues, and the Terraplane Blues. The latter would be the first to be released, along with Last Fair Deal Gone Down, which sold 10,000 copies. Johnson would take some time off before returning to record more songs in Dallas, Texas, in June 1937. In total, Johnson would record 29 songs in 5 days of recording sessions, all of which comprise of his entire music recordings. With the success of his music, the blues musicians of his time looked to his songs as the standard of blues music. He would unfortunately not live much longer to see further success of his music or record more songs. Johnson would pass away on the 16th of August, 1938 at the age of 27. His cause of death, even to this day, has never been confirmed. There have been several speculations to his death, to include congenital syphilis, to being murdered by a poisoned drink from a jealous patron. There has been heavy speculation on how Johnson was able to play the guitar so well following his dismissal from Jackson, Mississippi. During his 18-month hiatus, it is said that Johnson went to the Crossroads, a four-way intersection near the Dockery Plantation. Local legends say that going to this location at midnight will conjure up a being. That being was the devil. On one such occasion, Johnson was said to have met the devil. The devil took his guitar, tuned it, and played some songs. He would return the guitar to Johnson with the gift of mastery of the guitar. In return for this mastery of the instrument, the devil would have his soul. With Johnson's desire to prove himself to being a talented and recognized musician, he accepted the offer. This is the alleged reasoning behind his absence and quick mastery of the guitar. Thank you for watching this video. I learned about Robert Johnson through curiosity researching sinners. I glanced over it, but as always, I knew I wanted to cover his story with the limited research I previously did. Not gonna lie, researching this topic freaked me out a bit because it wears me out the length that some people are willing to go through to gain recognition. I get it, you find a passion, you want to stick to it, and you want to be remembered for it. But if the rumors are true, and he really did sell his soul to the manipulator like the devil, I hate to say it, but he's spending the rest of his afterlife in hell for a short period of time that he got to experience the fame. It's never worth selling yourself for quick success. You will come crashing down eventually. Now let's say the rumors aren't true and he never sold his soul. The fame eventually got to his head. He was said to have been a flirty individual at his shows, which included married women. This is where that poison drink theory came from. No matter what though, Johnson's life being cut short once he saw fame is an unfortunate event. He captivated audience with his return back from ridicule. To those who don't believe in the legend, they may praise it. But to those who do believe in the legend, they may look at it unfavorably. What do you think? And with that question in mind, I thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, make good decisions, and have a wonderful rest of your day.